What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Hot Take Tuesday, episode 21 of Season 2. We're here, ready to rock and roll, have a few good hot takes from our Discord community. And if you would like to be featured in Hot Take Tuesday in the future, if you like content like this, stick around, hit that like, subscribe button, put that post notification bell on. And to be featured, join that Discord server. It's a great community, always talking football. If you need a place to talk football, chill out, maybe asking questions about fantasy, that's your spot. That's your spot. That's your place to be. So without further ado, let's get into Hot Take Tuesday. So Jonathan Taylor, I apologize. The first hot take is from Joshua Kissinger. He says, Jonathan Taylor has 2 rushing touchdowns his first week back. All right. So I think John Taylor's going to be in a pitch count if he does play. Shane Steichen has come out earlier in the week. There's been a report from ESPN and a couple of reporters saying that Jonathan Taylor is returning to practice on Wednesday. And Shane Steichen didn't rule out the possibility of him playing on Sunday versus the Titans in Week 5. Now, the issue with him getting 2 rushing touchdowns is his workload is going to be limited. You're playing one of the best defensive lines you're playing one of the, it is a good defense line. I wouldn't say it's the best. I will say it's one of the best run defenses in the National Football League. So it could be a long day for this offensive line, which adds to that complexity of the situation. It could be a very long day for this offensive line. They've been inconsistent at run blocking. And on top of that, now you're going up against one of the best run defenses in the entire NFL. And on top of that, like I mentioned, he's going to be on pitch count. I'm feeling 10 to 13 carries, maybe a catch or 2. He's not going to play the entire game. Zach Moss has been phenomenal, so why force him out there? Why try to hurry him back out there when you already have a running back who's playing at a very high level? He's playing at a level that's more than enough to win you a couple of football games, more than enough to really get your team going in the right direction. 2 games with 100-plus rushing yards. Those were 2 games in a row. Last game, I think he had over 70. So 3 games in a row with 70-plus rushing yards. Not too bad. I take it, and you don't need, I've said this so much, you don't need a top 5 running back, and everyone knows this. You don't need to have a top 5 running back. You don't need to pay a running back top 5 money to be a good football team. Now, Zach Moss is no Jonathan Taylor. Let's get that straight. But let's not also ignore the running back position and the injuries that he has had. He has had this ankle injury, and it has kept him out much longer than we've expected. Now, is it the ankle injury? Is it something else? I have no clue, because all that debacle made me question everything about the situation. About Jonathan Taylor's, about Jonathan Taylor's injury. Was it his back? There's so many different complications in that debacle and that argument that was going on. I don't even know what to think. I don't know what to believe, because he showed up to training camp. It was reported that he tweaked his back training in Arizona. Jim Irsay threatened to put him on an NFI list. And if you do that, Jonathan Taylor's contract, he won't get paid at all this year. And then his 4th year of his rookie contract would have been moved to next year. Then you can still franchise tag him. So it would have been the worst possible thing for Jonathan Taylor to do, to blame that and the non-football injury list to be put on that if he just didn't play. So ultimately, he stayed on the PUP, and wasn't able to return until this week, getting to return. But going through that ankle injury, if it took this long, because Jim Irsay throughout the offseason multiple times said that ankle was healthy, JT's healthy, he's ready to go. Maybe he jumped the gun and he was expecting the best possible outcome, but it was still worrisome, whether it's that or something else. So I'm interested to see, how is he going to play from now on? He supposedly had, tweaked his back. He supposedly was still dealing with the ankle injury. And if you're dealing with an ankle injury that long, season-ending ankle surgery, there's so many red flags. And he wants his money right, but he better go out and earn it. He wants to be paid as the highest. I don't think he's going to be paid, unless he can make the case, unless he can play better than Christian McCaffrey. I don't think he's going to be paid the highest running back in the National Football League. Maybe right there, maybe 15, 16. I think McCaffrey's getting 16, so you pay him, 14, 15. It's seeming like he wants 16. So, unfortunately, that's what it is. But I say if he goes out there, he has a great season from now on, I'd say, okay, pay him. It is worth paying him that money to help Anthony Richardson develop, because Anthony Richardson needs that. He needs all the help he can get. I mean, Pittman's been playing well. I'd say Josh Downs has been playing good. I've been a fan of Isaiah McKenzie. Tight ends have been playing good. It's just a matter of fact of, is the running back thing going to catch up with him? He has a lot of tread on those tires from Wisconsin. That was one of his knocks coming out of college. The other was fumbling. He fumbled a couple times last year. That's something to keep note of. So there's definitely a few red flags here, and it's understandable why the Colts don't want to pay him yet. But him running for 2 rushing touchdowns this week, facing one of the best rushing defenses in the NFL. You have an offensive line that is struggling, beat up. Will Bernard Ryan be back? I don't know. I would think so, because he did suffer the concussion a few days before the game, so there's a chance he does come back. Ryan Kelly, hopefully he can come back. There's so many injuries right now, and teams are able to kind of crowd that box a little bit as well, because AR is struggling to throw the ball. He's 11-25 last game, just not throwing the ball really well. And I know a lot of Colts fans are not happy with me. A lot of them are actually pissed with me, but I don't care. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to express what I see, and I'm not out to please anyone. I am out to express what I see and what is going on and what is happening. So, but I'm getting off topic a little bit there. But Jonathan Taylor has 2 rushing touchdowns. I'm going piping hot, because he's going to have a very limited workload. Could this offense really drive down the field? How inconsistent are going to be? Is Zach Moss going to get the red zone targets? Is he going to get the red zone opportunities? And with Jonathan Taylor having little opportunity because he might be on a pitch count. Now, if he's not on a pitch count and he has a full workload, okay, he's got a shot. And then I would go hot. But from the circumstances, Shane Steichen was saying he's not going to rule him out for week 4 or for week 5, so he still must be dealing with it a little bit, still trying to get 100%, gotta get in shape, hasn't gotten hit in a couple, in quite some time now, so it's going to take time to get back into it, but I'm going to say piping hot, especially with the scenarios that I just talked about. So next up, I apologize. Next up, SilverSabs, CJ Stroud finishes a better quarterback than Trevor Lawerence, Jared Goff, Deshaun Watson, and Dak Prescott. So, Goff has played like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And considering he's been playing like one of the best. I didn't rank him like that going into the season. I thought he would maybe take that step back again and revert to the old Jared Goff that we know. But Jared Goff has been quietly, well, not really quietly, because, all the hype is around the Lions. They're finally doing something, and, it's exciting. So Jared Goff definitely has some hype around him as well, but he is actually playing really well. He's playing really good football, and I'm not ready to put CJ Stroud over Jared Goff right now, because Goff is playing that good. But, CJ Stroud is also dealing with a much worse situation, and he's still doing an incredible job. So I can see, I would take CJ Stroud. I don't know. Right now, I think I would say that I would take CJ Stroud over Jared Goff, but Goff is, I'm not trashing on Goff. Goff has been absolutely incredible, but if you look at the situation differences, like the offensive line, I would say the weapons are probably about even, except for CJ Stroud doesn't really have that one guy like Amon-Ra. CJ Stroud has a more, they have a multitude of weapons. Tank Dell, Nico, they don't have one guy that you can rely on. Robert Woods, John Mechie. But then, the Lions still have some really impressive weapons. Josh Reynolds has been incredible. You have Amon-Ra, of course, one of the best slot corners in the league. He's elite in the slot. Jameson Williams, I believe, is coming back this week. He's coming back early, but I don't know. I guess, that's a coin flip between Stroud and Goff for me right now. Trevor Lawerence, I take Stroud over Trevor Lawerence. I am not impressed with Trevor Lawerence. I don't see it. He's missing reads. He's, and CJ Stroud is playing miles and miles better than Trevor Lawerence, and he's got much less. And now, like I said, he does have some weapons. He has a decent tight end, a good running back. But you can't tell me that Trevor Lawrence. I would kind of beg that CJ Stroud has a little bit. Has quite a bit worse of a situation. He doesn't have a Calvin Ridley. He doesn't have, you do have Nico Collins, who's been absolutely incredible. Tank Dell is impressive. John Mechie, Robert Woods. So they have that more of a plethora of weapons. And, if the Jaguars have one of those two guys on, those one or two options go out, the top one or two options in Kirk or Ridley, they're going to have issues. Trevor Lawerence is still struggling. They scored one offensive touchdown. The defense scored one. The defense got another pick on literally the next play, and they were right outside the 20-yard line, and they couldn't convert. They couldn't. The offense line's not playing well, but they're supposed to get that ball out quick. That's what Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawerence likes to do. I'm not sure if Trevor Lawerence is the answer. I'm not sure. I'm seriously asking that question. Trevor Lawerence has a lot to prove. He's not there yet. He's very confusing. And when he is good and he's playing his best football, he's one of the best in the league. But that is becoming so far and few in between that it's concerning. Next, you have Watson. Watson's still shaking off the rust. He did start look a bit better. As the season is going on, he has looked much better running the football, throwing the football. We saw a difference with DTR in there this weekend. Very young quarterback. That's a tough matchup for a rookie quarterback. But Deshaun Watson, if he can return to somewhat of a form like he was in Houston, I mean, I wouldn't say you're wrong if you wanted Stroud or Watson. But if Stroud continues to play the way he is now, I mean, I might take Stroud over all of these guys. But then you have Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's an incredible quarterback, man. I understand he throws a lot of picks. I understand. And he does make some boneheaded decisions sometimes. But you also got to realize he is accurate with the football. He's smart with the football. He's aggressive. He's like Brett Favre. And even if you look at Matthew Stafford's stats, I do think Matthew Stafford is the better quarterback than Dak Prescott when healthy and when playing at, his best ball. But Dak Prescott, he's played about half of the games as Matthew Stafford, yet he is still on pace to throw the amount of interceptions that Matthew Stafford has thrown. His stats are pretty much on pace. Now, the situation is a bit better in Dallas than what Matthew Stafford had in Detroit, but early on in Detroit, don't forget, Matthew Stafford did have some incredible weapons, but even when those weapons left, he didn't have a defense, offensive line sucked. Matthew Stafford was still pulling it off. I'm not sure if Dak Prescott can do that. And CJ Stroud is basically doing that with the Texans. So, CJ Stroud, much worse situation, playing better than Dak, playing better than Watson, playing better than him and Goff are pretty similar, I would say right now. I would take CJ Stroud just because CJ Stroud has a worse situation, but the coaching seems to be good, and he has some good things going for him in that offense. But CJ Stroud finishing a better quarterback than all of them, I'm going to go hot. Just because it's still early. Now, from what I'm seeing, he's playing like he's been in the league 6-7 years, and there's no sign that he won't play like this all year. Just out of caution, I'm going to go warm. I think I said hot at first, but I think I'm going to go warm because I think, that chance is there. But I'm going, it's a bit unlikely considering these other guys have the experience and, except for Trevor Lawerence. The only quarterback I'm not willing to even consider taking over CJ Stroud is Trevor Lawerence. And, until I see Watson, come back to true form, I'm not taking Watson over Stroud. Right now, I'm taking CJ Stroud. I would even take Stroud over Goff. That could be a personal preference thing. But honestly, from what I've seen, I honestly think CJ Stroud might be better than all four of these guys right now. He's playing better than all four of them. He may not have as good as a situation as some of them. Some may have as good or better situation. I think CJ Stroud is absolutely phenomenal, and he has great weapons, great coaching. Really love what I see him. But this one's tough because... So let's say just this season, not overall. I say Stroud finishes better. So I'm going to go warm. But I'm saying it's a little unlikely just because it's early. Tape will be getting out on that Houston offense, but tape isn't going to slow down CJ Stroud. It doesn't look like it. I'm just erring on the side of caution. But I don't see any slowing down from CJ Stroud, honestly. I'm just erring on caution just in case. All right, Tones. Jets clinch a wild card matchup with Zach Wilson. Oh, man. Remember Zach Wilson coming out of BYU being the highest, one of the most hyped up quarterbacks. Some people were even starting to say, take Zach Wilson over Lawrence. At that point, I was like, okay, now you guys are getting a little wild. And rightfully so, why people liked him. I guess, when you watch the highlights, it's easy to get hyped up about a player because all you're seeing is a great plays, and you're not really being shown the plays with the struggles, with the with the blemishes and the weaknesses. You don't get a big enough sample size. Dang, I don't have water. Hold on, I'll be right back. All right, so going back to what we were saying, so highlights don't tell you the full story. They don't. They don't give you a big enough sample size on what they do wrong, of how the team is playing. You just don't get a fair sample size, and you cannot assess a player just what highlights or even just numbers at that. Numbers can help, but they don't tell the full story, and they're not concrete evidence. The film is the concrete evidence. I would say stats are still evidence, but the best evidence you have is film all the way. So, Zach Wilson has never made has always struggled with decision making. Just things up here, the quarterbacking position. And it looks like learning from Aaron Rodgers, having some pretty good coaching, a coach that believes in him when no one else has changed him a little bit. He was taking his checkdowns. He wasn't playing as much hero ball as he has been. He's still playing too much. But I've been impressed. I was impressed versus the Chiefs. I thought he looked much better than he ever has. That might have been his best game he's ever had. Like I said, it's very easy to look at a player's arm strength, and their ability to run, the flashy attributes. But the important ones are the accuracy, the decision making. Can the player handle it up here? And those were all questions for Zach Wilson. He's looked better. I still don't think he's great. I still don't think he's a guy. He's still got to do it week in and week out. He still made tough decisions. But I was impressed by what I saw, and a lot of people have been. So, but the Jets making the wild card with them. Let's go through some of the teams. All right, so West, you have the Chiefs and the Chargers. I don't see the Raiders or the Broncos sniffing the wild card. I think the Chargers make it, even though, it's kind of like just a Justin Herbert show. Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, this is probably all you got there. But I think Herbert is that good. Well, he is that good. I apologize for that pause. I'm just losing it up here a little bit. Losing train of thought, but I think the Chargers make it. I think they make it. And I'll go through some of the other teams here. You have the Chiefs, of course. Bills and Dolphins, those two will probably make it. One of those two will have a wild card spot. You have the Ravens, you have the Browns, and then from the AFC South, you might get the Jags and the Texans. Maybe you get to. The Texans are looking really good right now. The Jaguars I know they just had that really nice win against the Falcons, but they're still looking shaky. I am most impressed by the Texans. I can maybe see two from them. But this Jets defense, you could only, if Zach Wilson can play like he did tonight, if he could continue to make those strides, get better with his decision-making, make those simple reads, Robert Saleh making it easier for him, getting it to his best players, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, doing those kind of things, simplifying it, and then opening the playbook up as it goes, that's probably your best bet. But will it ever be enough? I actually want to take a look at their schedule real quick. Okay, so the Jets have the Broncos. I think that's a winnable game for how bad that defense is. I think that's a good test to Zach Wilson. Justin Fields just went out there and threw 4 touchdowns. Actually, should have been 3. Because one actually was not a touchdown, but they call it a touchdown. It is what it is. You move on. They have a shot to beat the Broncos. That defense is very good. And then, the Jets defense is very good. That can limit Russell Wilson. Then the offense, they could get just enough done. I could see him win that. Eagles, probably not. Giants, I think they could beat the Giants. How good their defense or, their defense lines are just going to suffocate the Giants. Maybe that young Giants secondary starts to come alive a little bit. You are playing Garrett Wilson. Well, Deontay Banks, how will he do against their number one target? We'll see. The Chargers and the Jets probably lose to the Chargers. But the Jets have a really good defense, man, and that's what keeps them in all these games. The Dolphins, you probably lose to the Dolphins. The Falcons, you probably beat the Falcons. I say you lose to the Texans. You play the Dolphins again, you lose to the Dolphins. You're not going to beat the Bills again. The Commanders, I would take the Commanders in that close one, but I think I'd take the Commanders. Jets and Browns, I take the Browns. Watson will probably be back and healthy. Patriots, that's a toss-up. So what I'm saying here is, it seems the Jets are one of those teams, they could win any game, but they can lose any game. And typically those teams find a way into the playoff race, but they don't usually end up making the wild card. They're just not consistent enough. There's too many, there's something wrong on why they can only, they can beat anyone, but they can lose anyone. Depends on the day, what Zach Wilson we get. If Zach Wilson can stay consistent, absolutely, but we have to see him stay consistent first. He's made some good plays. He's been much better. I'm still going to go hot because there's still a lot of good teams in the AFC. There's still a lot of good teams in the AFC, so that's why I'm going hot. Although, you still have 3 wildcard spots. I think other teams like the Chargers, the Dolphins and the Bills are going to have a spot. The Ravens or the Browns are going to have a spot. I don't think so. I don't think the Jets will make the wild card. I'm going to go hot and say it's a bit out of the reach. But there's that chance. There's that chance, I think. If they get that run game going at a high level, I think they got an even better chance, but we got to see. 4, next hot take from FishMaster. Texans win the AFC South. Boy, do I like this one. I love this one. And the Texans, man, they are looking so good. They are looking so good. CJ Stroud is the best rookie quarterback so far, by far and away. Most accurate. Has a bad situation. The other ones may not have a great situation. I would say Bryce Young's might be the worst, but CJ Stroud still has a very bad situation. Other than the offense, the offense line's got no time to throw, but he's got good weapons that can get open. He's got a good running back. And oh boy, I'm telling you, this Texans team is sneaky. I've been saying all off season long that the Texans, they are better than what you think. They're better than what you expect. And I said if CJ Stroud can come into his zone and be a decent quarterback, well, here you go. The Texans are sneaky, and they're going to continue to win. They're that football team. They're a good football team. Now, I get it. Who do they just play? The Steelers. The Steelers have a really good defense. The Texans' offensive line is going to be getting healthy. I don't see why the Texans can't win the AFC South. CJ Stroud is the best quarterback in the South right now, and it's, quite frankly, it's not even close. Trevor Lawerence, he just hasn't been it. Missing reads, inaccuracies, bad decision making. I'm just not seeing it from Lawerence right now. But Stroud has that him in him. He does. I know I've been saying that a lot about some players, but Stroud has been him. He's been the guy. For the situation he has to deal with, well, with how bad the offensive line is, but I think he's still elevating Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and making them better as a very good quarterback can do. He's looking like the CJ Stroud that we saw in that Georgia game. And you know what, man? I'm gonna say this is a cold hot take. Because when you look at the Jaguars, I still think the Jaguars are a little, I think they're still walking on eggshells. They only scored 1 offensive touchdown last week. 1. That was it. The defense scored a pick 6. They picked it off the very next play after the pick 6, and the offense was right outside the 20. Still to settle for a field goal when, 22, 23 yards to go. That's kind of pathetic. I know the Falcons' defense is decent. It's not bad. But 1 offensive touchdown, you had a chance from the 22, 23-yard line to go score. When you're going to play teams with better defenses, I don't know, man. I'm quite concerned about Trevor Lawerence. And then you have the Colts, too inconsistent. I don't think they have it in to win the South. If Richardson can be Superman and just get that much better in passing that quick, then I think they got a shot. But that's probably not going to happen. Now, they have Michael Pittman. They have a good weapon. The offensive line seems inconsistent. But I was ahead of what it was last year. But then you have the Titans. They have a very good defense. They're going to play variable football. I think the Titans will probably finish third. You probably have the Texans. As of right now, if you want to ask me what my thoughts are on this division, I'm going Texans 1, Jaguars 2, Titans 3, Colts 4. That's it. That's my AFC South prediction. So saying the Texans win the AFC South, I'm going cold. I don't think this is too much of a hot take. I think it is a more than fair statement. More than fair. And the Texans have proven that they can be a very good football team. We just seen the team that is expected to win the AFC South got dominated all three phases of the game versus the Texans. The Texans dominated the Jaguars in all three phases. So watch out for the Texans, man. They're sneaky. They're gonna play spoiler in the playoffs. Watch and see. All right, my hot take: a non-QB wins a 2023 NFL MVP award. Right off the bat, I'm going piping hot. It's probably crazy. Probably absolutely will not happen just because of how much this award is geared towards quarterbacks and how many good quarterbacks in the league. You have these non-quarterbacks going up against Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. Joe Burrow he's not going to be in the race. He's not really it right now. The injury is really affecting him. There's just so many good quarterbacks right now in the NFL. And, I would even say you could maybe throw Goff in that MVP conversation so far this year. That might be a hot take in with himself. But a non-QB winning the NFL award, winning the MVP it's piping hot, and we all know it. The guys that have a chance to maybe win it, if a non-quarterback does win it, Jay Jettas, obviously generational receiver, along with Tyreek Hill. CMC, generational running back. And last but not least, I have a defensive player on here. I have Micah Parsons here. If Micah Parsons can play like he has all year, Parsons got a chance. He can maybe be in the running, maybe be in honorable mentions. But as a defensive player and how much the MVP award is just catered to quarterbacks, he probably won't win it. But I like you guys to give me your thoughts on that hot take, and in general, give me your thoughts on all these hot takes and any comments, questions, concerns. I'd like to hear them all. So that's all I got for you guys today for this episode of Hot Take Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where your fans welcome. This is JDW Sports Talk Show, signing off.